The lecture hall was half empty, which wasn't unusual for a Friday afternoon. History 401 seminar. I was mid-sentence, explaining the economic factors behind the Treaty of Versailles, when my phone vibrated in my jacket pocket. Once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. I ignored it. Students paid tuition to hear me explain how Europe sleepwalked into World War II, not to watch their professor check text messages. The vibration continued. 4th time. 5th. Someone was determined. Excuse me for just a moment. I pulled out the phone, intending to silence it completely. 7 missed calls, all from Olzed. My daughter never called during my teaching hours. She knew my schedule better than I did, had it memorized from years of coordinating visits around my academic calendar. For her to call now repeatedly meant something was catastrophically wrong. The most recent text made my vision narrow to a tunnel. Dad, Mom's in ER, heart attack, Harborview Medical. Come now. Class dismissed. The words came out mechanical. Read chapters 12 through 14. From Monday. Students gathered their belongings with the confused urgency of people who'd just been gifted unexpected freedom. I was already moving toward the door, phone pressed to my ear, calling Isolde back. She answered on the first ring. Dad, where are you? Campus. I'm leaving now. What happened? Mom collapsed at home. Tess called 911. They're working on her now. Her voice carried that professional hospital administrator tone, the one she used when discussing patient care protocols. Clinical. Controlled. How fast can you get here? 20 minutes if traffic cooperates. I was already in the hallway, moving toward the parking garage. Is she conscious? They haven't told me yet. Just get here. I'll meet you at the ER entrance. The call ended before I could ask anything else. The drive from the University of Washington to Harborview Medical Center normally took 30 minutes. I made it in 18, breaking speed limits and running 2 yellow lights that were more red than amber. My hands gripped the steering wheel hard enough to hurt, knuckles white against black leather. Margot, my mother, 78 years old, retired opera soprano, still teaching voice lessons twice a week from her Queen Anne mansion. I'd spoken to her 3 days ago. She'd sounded fine, animated as she described the soprano who was butchering Puccini's technique. Heart attack. The words kept cycling through my mind. She'd had no history, no risk factors, exercised daily, ate Mediterranean diet, took her vitamins religiously. The ER parking lot was full. I abandoned my car in a loading zone, didn't care about tickets or towing, just moved toward the entrance with single-minded focus. Isolde stood outside the automatic doors, wearing her hospital administrator badge and a concerned expression that looked practical. She was 29, blonde, polished, the kind of professional competence that made hospital board members comfortable during budget meetings. Dad, she stepped forward, hand raised like she was physically stopping me. Before you go in, I need to explain the situation. Where's Mom? Trauma Bay 3. But Dad, you can't go back there right now. I stopped moving, stared at her. What do you mean I can't? They're actively working on her. Medical team only. It's protocol. Her voice carried absolute authority, the administrator overriding the daughter. You going back there would compromise patient care. I'm her son. I have every right, and I'm the hospital administrator who understands EMTALA regulations. She moved to block my path toward the entrance. Dad, I know you're scared. I am too, but we have to let them do their job. Something felt wrong. Not just the situation, but Isolde's demeanor. Too controlled, too prepared, like she'd rehearsed this conversation. How long has she been here? 45 minutes. And you're just now calling me? A flicker of something crossed her face. Annoyance. Calculation. I called you as soon as I could get away from the administrative office. I had to coordinate with the ER attending, review Mom's records, make sure everything was. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost declined it, then recognized the area code. Nigerian prefix. Only one person I knew with that number. Professor Quinlan. Celestine Okafor's voice was low, urgent, speaking quickly. I am not supposed to call you. Your daughter said no contact, but you need to know truth. Your mother. The call cut off abruptly, not ended naturally, but severed mid-sentence. I looked at Isolde, who'd gone very still. That was Tess. Why would you tell her not to contact me? I didn't tell her anything. The response came too quickly. Dad, you're not thinking clearly. You're emotional, which is understandable, but where's Tess now? I have no idea. Probably at home. The paramedics transported Mom directly from the house. You just said Tess wasn't supposed to call me. That means you talked to her, which means you know where she is. Isolde's jaw tightened fractionally. Dad, I really think you should sit down in the waiting room. Let me get you some water. You're clearly stressed. I'm going to see my mother. I moved toward the entrance. She stepped directly into my path, hand on my chest. You can't. Not yet. Move. Dad, move. Isolde. We stood there, 3 feet from the automatic doors, father and daughter locked in a confrontation that felt like it was about far more than hospital protocols. The doors slid open. A man emerged, tall, early 30s, expensive suit, pharmaceutical sales rep, written in every detail of his appearance. Von Brennan, Isolde's husband of 2 years, carrying 2 coffee cups like he'd just returned from a civilized errand. Bad. He handed 1 cup to Isolde, kept the other. Sorry to hear about Margot. How are you holding up? I'm trying to see my mother. Your wife is preventing me. Vaughn's expression shifted to concern so practiced it had to be rehearsed. Is that really wise right now? From what Isolde said, the medical team needs space to work. Family members in the trauma bay can complicate. I don't need your input. I kept my eyes on Isolde. Last time. Move, or I'll move you. Dad, if you try to force your way into a restricted area, I'll have security remove you from the building. Her voice had gone cold, absolute. And I'll file documentation that you were emotionally unstable, potentially a danger to patient care. The threat landed like a physical blow. Documentation. In her position, she could create a paper trail that would paint me as irrational, unhinged, a liability. My phone buzzed. Text message from the same unknown number. Professor, I am in parking garage, level 3, blue Honda. Please, must talk. Ty looked at Isolde, at Vaughn standing beside her with his coffee and his pharmaceutical rep smile, at the hospital entrance where my mother was supposedly fighting for her life. Something was happening here, something beyond a medical emergency. I'm going to get some air. I stepped back, hands raised in apparent surrender. I'll wait in the parking garage. Let me know when I can see her. Relief flashed across Isolde's face. That's smart, Dad. I'll come find you as soon as the doctors update me. I walked away without responding, moving toward the parking garage with measured steps, not running, not showing the urgency that vibrated through every nerve. Level 3 was half empty, afternoon shadows stretching between concrete pillars. I found the blue Honda in the far corner, windows tinted, engine off. Tess sat in the driver's seat, door already unlocked. I slid into the passenger side. She looked terrified. Not the composed professional caregiver I'd known for 5 years, but a woman who'd witnessed something that had broken through her considerable composure. Professor Quinlan, her hands trembled on the steering wheel. I am so sorry. I should have called you sooner, weeks sooner. But I was afraid. And your daughter, she threatened. What's happening to my mother? No heart attack. The words came out flat, absolute. Your daughter is lying. Your mother is being poisoned, slowly. For 3 months now, I have been watching, documenting, trying to understand what I was seeing. Tonight I finally knew for certain. The parking garage suddenly felt airless. Poisoned. By whom? Your daughter, Professor, and her husband. They are killing Mrs. Quinlan. Very slowly, very carefully, making it look like natural decline. I sat in absolute silence for 5 seconds, processing words that my mind wanted to reject as impossible. Show me what you have. Tess pulled out her phone, navigated to a photo album. I started taking pictures 2 months ago when I realized the medications were wrong. She handed me the phone. The first image showed a pill bottle, digoxin, prescribed to Margot Quinlan by Dr. Yuki Tanaka 3 months ago. The second image showed the same bottle, but zoomed in on the pills inside. Different color, different shape. I checked, Tess said quietly. Those are not digoxin. I took one to my friend who works at pharmacy. She analyzed it. Oleander extract. Very poisonous, but symptoms look like heart problems. Confusion, weakness, irregular heartbeat. I scrolled through more photos. Margot's medication organizer, pills arranged by day and time. Tess had photographed each compartment, then photographed the replacement pills that shouldn't have been there. Your daughter comes to house 3 times per week. Always when I am with Mrs. Quinlan in living room. Says she needs to check something upstairs. 10 minutes later, she leaves. Every time I check medications after, every time they have been changed. My mother would notice if her pills look different. Mrs. Quinlan's eyesight is not good. Close-up work is difficult. She trusts her daughter. When Miss Isod says, "Mom, the pharmacy changed manufacturers, pills look different but same medication," Mrs. Quinlan believes her. I reached the last photos in the album. Security camera footage, grainy but clear enough. Isod's in Margot's bedroom, pill bottle in hand, dumping contents into her palm, replacing them from a different container pulled from her purse. The house has cameras, only an entry and hallway. Miss Quinlan does not know I added one in bedroom. Small camera hidden in bookshelf. I was afraid. I needed proof. When did you take this? Yesterday, Wednesday afternoon. Your daughter came for her usual visit. I pretended to vacuum downstairs, but I was watching. I forwarded all the photos to my email. Tess didn't stop me. She understood what I was doing, creating backup evidence before anything could be deleted or destroyed. Why tonight? I asked. Why the fake heart attack? If this story reminded you of the injustices you've seen, follow the channel and turn on notifications, because wherever justice is delayed, a new revenge story begins. Because this afternoon, Mrs. Quinlan told me she was changing her will. She said she wanted to leave her Queen Anne house to me, for taking care of her. She was going to call lawyer on Monday. Everything clicked into place with terrible precision. Margot changing her will. Isod panicking, accelerating the timeline, creating a medical emergency that would prevent any will changes, and potentially, if my mother died tonight, locking the current inheritance structure. Where's my mother right now? Emergency room. But Professor, not heart attack. Your daughter gave her something. I do not know what. But 1 hour ago, Mrs. Quinlan was fine. We were having tea. Then Miss Isod arrived, unexpected. Said she wanted to give Mother her medications early. Help me out. After she left, Mrs. Quinlan collapsed. I called 911, but I also saw the new pill bottle Miss Isod left behind. She pulled an orange prescription bottle from her purse. This is not from regular pharmacy. No label, just pills. I took the bottle, examined it. White pills, no markings. Generic appearance designed to avoid suspicion. I'm going back inside. I opened the car door. If I'm not back in 30 minutes, call Detective Hugo Reyes at Seattle PD. Tell him everything. Give him these photos. Your daughter will stop you. No, she won't. I walked back toward the hospital entrance, pill bottle in my jacket pocket, phone recording video from my chest pocket. Whatever happened next, I needed documentation. The ER waiting room held the usual collection of minor emergencies and major anxieties. I bypassed the reception desk, moving directly toward the double doors marked "Authorized personnel only." A security guard stood beside them, young maybe 25, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Sorry, sir. Family members wait in. I'm Dr. Thaddeus Quinlan." I pulled out my university ID, which did say doctor, though obviously not medical doctor. "My mother is in trauma 3. I need to check on her status." He studied the ID, uncertain. The badge access reader beside the door blinked green as a nurse swiped through. I followed her through before the doors closed, moving with enough confidence that the guard hesitated just long enough for me to be inside the secure area. The ER was controlled chaos. Nurses at computer stations, doctors consulting over charts, the mechanical sounds of monitoring equipment. I scanned room numbers, found trauma 3 at the end of the corridor. Through the window, I could see Margot on a gurney, IV lines connected, heart monitor beeping steady rhythm. She was conscious, moving slightly, talking to a doctor I didn't recognize. Not dying, not even close. I opened the door without knocking. "Sir, you can't." A nurse started. "Mom," I moved to the bedside, took Margot's hand. "How are you feeling, Thaddeus?" Her voice was weak but lucid. "What are you doing here?" Isolde said, "You were in Chicago for a conference." "I was never in Chicago." I looked at the doctor. "What's her status?" "And you are?" "Her son, Dr. Thaddeus Quinlan." "Dr. Tanaka." She checked her tablet. "Your mother presented with Seneco and tachycardia. We've stabilized her heart rhythm, running toxicology panels now to determine cause. Check for oleander poisoning." Dr. Tanaka's expression shifted. "That's extremely specific." "Why would—" "Because someone's been poisoning her for 3 months." I pulled out my phone, showed her Tessa's photos. These pills were substituted for her prescribed medication. Her caregiver documented everything. Margot's grip on my hand tightened. "Poisoned? By whom?" I met her eyes, saw the question she already knew the answer to, but needed to hear confirmed. Isolde. The door burst open. Isolde stood there, face flushed, Vaughn behind her. "Dad, what the hell are you doing? I told you to wait outside." "I'm ensuring my mother receives proper medical care." "Dr. Tanaka, I'm requesting immediate law enforcement notification. This is an attempted murder investigation." Isolde's professional mask cracked completely. "You've lost your mind." "Mom, tell him." "Get out." Margot's voice, still weak but absolutely clear. "Get out of my room, both of you." Vaughn raised his hands in placating gesture. "Margot, there's been a misunderstanding. You've been killing me." She struggled to sit up, IV lines pulling taut. "My own daughter has been poisoning me." Dr. Tanaka hit the call button. "Security to trauma 3 and notify Seattle PD. We have a criminal matter." The next 20 minutes became a blur of official procedure. Security escorting Isolde and Vaughn to a private room. Police arriving, taking statements. Dr. Tanaka ordering comprehensive toxicology screening. Tess arriving with her phone full of evidence, speaking to Detective Hugo Reyes with quiet determination. I sat beside Margot's bed, holding her hand, watching hospital staff work around us with practiced efficiency. "How long have you known?" she asked, quietly. 5 minutes before I came in here. I thought I was just getting old, forgetful, weak." Her voice cracked. "I never suspected my own daughter would. She won't hurt you again. I promise you that." Detective Reyes approached, notepad in hand. Early 50s, sharp eyes, 20 years of homicide investigation, written in the way he absorbed information. "Professor Quinlan, I'll need your full statement. But first," he showed me his phone screen. Photo of Isolde, being led away in handcuffs. She's in custody. Her husband too. The caregiver's documentation is compelling. With your mother's testimony and the toxicology results, we have grounds for attempted murder charges. How quickly can you process evidence? Preliminary tox screen in 6 hours. Full analysis takes longer, but the substituted pills, the videos, the documented pattern, that's enough to hold them. Judge will set bail tomorrow. I nodded, too exhausted to feel satisfaction. Just grim certainty that what needed to happen was happening. Margot squeezed my hand. Thaddeus, what happens now? Now you recover. Then we make sure they answer for every single day they spent poisoning you. The hospital admitted her for observation. Private room on the 4th floor. Security stationed outside. I called my department chair, canceled Monday's classes, settled into the uncomfortable chair beside Margot's bed for the long night ahead. Through the window, Seattle's evening light spread across the city. Somewhere out there, my daughter sat in a holding cell, probably calling attorneys, probably building her defense. Let her try. We had time, evidence, witnesses, and truth. The war was just beginning. The preliminary toxicology results arrived at 6:47 a.m. Dr. Tanaka woke me from the hospital chair where I'd spent the night, my neck stiff, back protesting every movement. Professor Quinlan, she handed me a tablet displaying lab results. Your instincts were correct. Oleander glycosides, digitalis toxicity, and something else we're still identifying, possibly a aconitine. Your mother has been systematically poisoned with cardiac toxins designed to mimic natural heart failure. I read through the numbers, concentrations, metabolite markers, the scientific documentation of attempted murder. Prognosis: she'll recover fully with proper treatment. We've started chelation therapy and supportive care, but Professor Dr. Tanaka's expression hardened. The dosing pattern suggests this has been going on for months. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. Medical knowledge, access to restricted substances. This wasn't amateur. My son-in-law works in pharmaceutical sales. My daughter is a hospital administrator. That explains the sophistication. She took the tablet back. I've documented everything for law enforcement. Detective Reyes requested copies of all medical records going back 6 months. Margot stirred in the bed, consciousness returning gradually. I moved to her side, took her hand. Morning, Mom. Thaddeus. Her voice was stronger than yesterday, clarity returning with treatment. Have they arrested her? Yesterday evening. Isolde and Vaughn are both in custody. Good. No hesitation. No maternal grief. Just cold satisfaction. I want them prosecuted, fully, no mercy. The door opened. Detective Reyes entered, carrying the coffee tray in a thick folder. He handed me a cup without asking if I wanted it, just assumed correctly that I needed it. Mrs. Quinlan, how are you feeling? Angry and determined. Good. I'll need your formal statement. He settled into the visitor's chair. Notepad ready. Walk me through the past 6 months. When did your health decline start? Margot took a careful breath, organizing her thoughts with the precision she'd once used to memorize opera scores. January. I started feeling tired, forgetting things. My regular doctor thought it was age. He adjusted my medications, but I kept getting worse. What medications were adjusted? Digoxin for heart rhythm, blood pressure medication, vitamin supplements, and these were prescribed by Dr. Tanaka. What would you do at this point? Write it in the comments. Your thoughts are as important as the story itself. Yes, but Isolde always picked them up from the pharmacy. Said she wanted to help. Save me the trip. Margot's voice tightened. I trusted her. Reyes made notes. When did Miss Okafor start working for you? 5 years ago, when I had knee surgery and needed temporary help. I kept her on afterward. She's been wonderful. Did your daughter approve of Tess? Margot paused, considering. No, Isolde always said I didn't need full-time care, that it was a waste of money. She suggested I should sell the house, move into assisted living, free up assets. The realization crossed her face. She was planning this even then. We're building a timeline. Reyes flipped through his folder. Your daughter's financial situation is illuminating. She and her husband are in significant debt, $470,000 combined. Credit cards, personal loans, mortgage on a house they can't afford. I set down my coffee cup. That much? High lifestyle spending beyond their means. Vaughn has gambling issues. He's flagged at 3 Washington casinos for problem behavior. Isolde's been taking out personal loans using her hospital position as collateral. They're drowning, and I'm worth $48 million. Margot's voice was flat. The Queen Anne house alone is $2.8 million. My investment portfolio, the antiques, my mother's jewelry collection, they were going to inherit it all. Exactly. Your current will leaves everything to your son, Professor Quinlan, with provisions that, if he predeceases you, assets go to his children, your grandchildren. But you have no grandchildren yet, so secondary beneficiary is Isolde. The implication hung in the air. Kill Margot while I was still alive. Isolde inherited nothing. But if my mother died and then I had an accident before having children, Isolde would get everything. They weren't just planning to kill Mom. I looked at Reyes. They were planning something for me too. We're investigating that possibility. He pulled out more documents. Professor, when's the last time you had your car serviced? 2 weeks ago. Routine maintenance. I'd like our forensics team to examine it. Look for tampering. The coldness in my chest crystallized into something sharper. My own daughter, planning not just matricide, but patricide. A family annihilation for money. Check whatever you need to check. Tess arrived an hour later, carrying a bag from Margot's house, comfortable clothes, toiletries, the small necessities of extended hospital stays. She moved with quiet efficiency, setting up Margot's bedside table, arranging flowers she'd brought. Miss Celestine. Rhea stood. I'll need your statement as well. Of course. She sat, hands folded in her lap, and began speaking. Her English carried a Nigerian accent, but was precise. Carefully chosen words describing 3 months of watching her employer deteriorate, while documenting evidence of poisoning. I knew something was wrong in February. Mrs. Quinlan was forgetting our conversations, losing balance. I thought maybe stroke, dementia. But symptoms came and went too strangely. Good days, then terrible days, not like normal aging. When did you start suspecting the medications? March. I refilled Mrs. Quinlan's pill organizer one morning. The digoxin tablets looked different, wrong color. I asked Miss Isolde. She visited that afternoon. She said pharmacy changed manufacturers, but I checked the bottle. Same manufacturer as before. That's when you started documenting. Yes, I took photos. I researched. My cousin in Lagos is pharmacist. I sent her pictures, asked questions. She told me those pills were not digoxin. She suggested oleander. I looked it up. Symptoms matched exactly what Mrs. Quinlan was experiencing. Why didn't you report this immediately? Tess's composure cracked slightly. I was afraid. Miss Isolde is hospital administrator. Important person. I am immigrant worker with H-1B visa. Who would believe me over her? I needed proof first. Undeniable proof. You got it. Reyes showed her his folder, filled with her photographs. This documentation is remarkable. Prosecutors will build their entire case on your evidence. I am just grateful. Professor Quinlan believed me. She looked at me. When I called yesterday, I thought maybe you would think I was crazy, but you came immediately. You saved my mother's life. The bail hearing happened Tuesday afternoon. I sat in the courtroom gallery, Margot beside me in a wheelchair. Doctor's orders, though she insisted she felt strong enough to walk. Tess sat on her other side, quiet solidarity. Isolde entered in orange jumpsuit, handcuffed, looking diminished without her professional armor. Vaughn followed, his pharmaceutical rep polish completely stripped away. Judge Patricia Morrison presided, reading the charges with clinical detachment. Attempted murder in the first degree, conspiracy to commit murder, elder abuse, fraud. How do you plead? Not guilty. Isolde's attorney, a woman I didn't recognize, spoke firmly. Your Honor, my client maintains her innocence. These charges are based on circumstantial evidence and misunderstandings regarding medical care. The state has photographic evidence, video documentation, and toxicology results showing systematic poisoning over 3 months. The prosecutor, a sharp-eyed man named Marcus Webb, stood. This wasn't misunderstanding. This was calculated murder attempt. Bail request. The state requests remand without bail. Defendants have significant financial motive, access to medical knowledge and restricted substances, and pose continued danger to the victim. Isolde's attorney object. My client is a respected hospital administrator with community ties and no criminal record. She's not a flight risk. She poisoned her own mother for inheritance money. Webb's voice cut across the courtroom. The victim has stated she recently informed defendants she was changing her will. The fake heart attack occurred within hours of that conversation. This is calculated elimination of a victim before asset protection could occur. Judge Morrison reviewed documents in silence. When she looked up, her expression was granite. Bail denied. Defendants remanded to custody pending trial. Given the severity of charges, premeditation, and danger to victim, I see no conditions that would adequately protect public safety. Isolde's face drained of color. She looked across the courtroom, eyes finding mine, searching for something: sympathy, intervention, weakness. I stared back without expression. She was led away. Vaughn followed, both disappearing through the side door. That went well. Webb approached us in the hallway afterward. Professor Quinlan, Mrs. Quinlan, I'll need extensive statements from both of you. We're building the strongest case possible, whatever you need. I handed him a business card. I've also retained a private attorney, Leopold Ashford. He'll be coordinating asset protection. Smart. Your daughter still has legal rights until conviction. She could theoretically sue for inheritance claims. Not anymore. Margot's voice was firm. I'm changing my will today. Leopold Ashford met us at his downtown Seattle office that same afternoon. Late 50s, silver hair. Reputation built on protecting wealthy clients from family predators. I'd called him Monday night, explained the situation. Requested emergency appointment. His office overlooked Elliott Bay, floor-to-ceiling windows framing ferries crossing gray water. Mrs. Quinlan, he shook Margot's hand carefully, conscious of her recent hospital stay. I've reviewed the police reports. Professor Quinlan forwarded. This is one of the more egregious cases of financial elder abuse I've encountered. I want her removed completely. Margot settled into the leather chair across from his desk. From my will, from any trust documents, from every legal instrument that could possibly benefit her. Understood. I'll draft complete disinheritance language, but we should also consider protective measures beyond the will, such as revocable living trust. Transfer all assets into trust structure that Miss Brennan cannot challenge, contest, or claim against. Name Professor Quinlan as trust. Establish clear documentation that this change is voluntary, informed, and response to specific actions. How quickly can this be done? I'll have documents ready tomorrow. We'll need witnesses, notary, medical evaluation confirming your competence. Already done. I pulled out Dr. Naka's assessment. She's been evaluated, full cognitive function, no impairment, no signs of undue influence. Leopold read it, nodded approvingly. Excellent. Then we can execute everything tomorrow afternoon. Over the next 3 days, we systematically dismantled any legal avenue through which Isolde might profit from her crimes. New wills signed and witnessed, living trust established, asset transfers completed, property deeds recorded, investment accounts restructured. I hired Simone Blackwell, the private investigator Webb recommended, to dig deeper into Isolde and Vaughn's activities. Former FBI financial crimes specialist, now private sector, reputation for finding what others missed. Her first report arrived Friday. I sat in Margot's hospital room. She was being discharged tomorrow, and read through Simone's findings. Your daughter has been planning this for at least a year. Simone stood at the foot of the bed, tablet in hand. December 2023, she contacted 3 estate attorneys, asking hypothetical questions about inheritance timelines, probate procedures, contested wills. Hypothetical. Margot's voice dripped sarcasm. She was careful, never mentioned you specifically, but the questions were pointed. If an elderly parent dies intestate, how long before assets distribute? Can adult children contest will changes made within 6 months of death? What constitutes undue influence in estate planning? She was researching how to maximize her take and minimize legal challenges. I scanned the documented email exchanges. What about Vaughn? He's worse. $180,000 in gambling debts to 3 different casinos. 2 of them have flagged him as problematic. He was banned from Tulalip Casino in March for aggressive behavior after losing $30,000 in one night. Jesus Christ, it gets better. His pharmaceutical sales job is under investigation. Company suspects he's been diverting restricted medications. Specifically, she checked her tablet, cardiac glycosides, digitalis compounds, and aconite derivatives. Exactly what was used to poison your mother. Subscribe and stay tuned so you don't miss any true revenge stories. Sometimes, even silence is the strongest form of revenge. The pieces fell together. Vaughn accessing the poisons, Isolde administering them, using her medical knowledge and access, both motivated by crushing debt and expensive lifestyle they couldn't sustain. Can you prove Vaughn diverted the medications? His company is cooperating with investigators. They've provided sales records, inventory discrepancies, shipping manifests. He signed for compounds that never reached their assigned hospitals or pharmacies. The missing quantities match what would be needed for a 3-month poisoning regimen. That's evidence of premeditation. Exactly. This wasn't impulsive. They planned, acquired materials, research methods, and executed over months. Prosecutors love this kind of documentation. Margot listened to all of this without speaking, her expression growing harder with each revelation. When Simone finished, she looked at me. I want them destroyed, that is. Legally, financially, completely. I want my daughter to spend the next 20 years in prison thinking about what she tried to do. That's what we're building toward. The trial was set for August, 3 months away. In the interim, the legal machinery ground forward with inexorable precision. Detective Reyes's team found tampering evidence in my car, brake lines partially cut, not enough to cause immediate failure, but sufficient to ensure eventual catastrophe. Forensic analysis matched the cutting tool to equipment in Vaughn's garage. Isolde's hospital employment was terminated. Investigation revealed she'd accessed restricted pharmacy storage, signed out medications without proper documentation, manipulated patient records. The hospital board filed separate criminal complaints. Vaughn's pharmaceutical company fired him and sued for theft of company property. The medications he diverted were valued at $45,000 wholesale. Felony theft charges added to his legal problems. Their house went into foreclosure. Neither could make mortgage payments from jail. The bank seized it in June. I attended every preliminary hearing, every motion argument, every procedural step. Margot came when her strength allowed, rolled into courtrooms in wheelchair, staring at her daughter with absolute coldness. Isolde tried to make eye contact once during a June hearing, mouthed the word mom across the courtroom. Margot looked away without acknowledgement. The trial began August 12th. King County Superior Court, Judge Morrison presiding. Jury selection took 3 days. 12 citizens who would decide whether my daughter spent the next 2 decades in prison. Marcus Webb presented the state's case with methodical precision. Day 1, medical evidence. Dr. Tanaka testified about the toxicology results, the systematic poisoning, the calculated dosing designed to mimic natural decline. Day 2, documentary evidence. Tess's photographs blown up on courtroom monitors, security footage showing Isolde substituting pills, pharmacy records proving the medications were wrong. Day 3, financial motive. Simone Blackwell walked the jury through Isolde and Vaughn's debt spiral, their gambling losses, their expensive lifestyle collapse. Day 4, my testimony. I sat in the witness box, swore the oath, and told the truth about the phone call, about Isolde blocking me from the ER, about Tess's warning, about finding my mother conscious, lucid, and systematically poisoned. Professor Quinlan, Webb asked, did you believe your daughter was capable of this? No, until the moment Tess showed me the evidence, the possibility never entered my mind. What changed? Reality. Evidence doesn't lie. People do. Isolde's attorney tried to break me on cross-examination, suggested I was estranged from my daughter, motivated by anger, exaggerating events to harm her. I answered every question with academic precision, emotional detachment, documented facts. Day 5, Tess testified. She described months of watching Margot deteriorate, documenting evidence, gathering proof, while terrified of retaliation. Miss Okafor, Webb asked, why risk your job, your visa status, your entire life in America to report this? Because Mrs. Quinlan is a good person. She trusted me. I could not let her daughter murder her while I did nothing. Tess's voice broke slightly. That is not who I am. Day 6, Margot took the stand. She wheeled herself to the witness box, refused assistance, settled in with the dignity of a woman who'd once performed at Carnegie Hall. Mrs. Quinlan, Webb began, how do you feel about your daughter? I have no daughter. Margot's voice carried absolute finality. The woman who gave birth to the child I raised died the moment she decided to poison me for my money. What sits at that table is a stranger who tried to murder me. Isolde broke, started crying, calling out, Mom, please, I'm sorry. Judge Morrison had her removed. The jury watched in silence. Vaughn's testimony, bought with a plea deal, destroyed any remaining defense. He described every conversation, every planning session, every dose administered. Isolde had researched the methods. He'd acquired the materials. They'd executed together, believing they'd inherit millions. The jury deliberated 7 hours, guilty on all counts. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. I sat beside Margot in the front row, holding her hand as Judge Morrison delivered judgment. Miss Brennan, you exploited your medical knowledge, your familial relationship, and your mother's trust to commit one of the most cold-blooded crimes this court has seen. You poisoned your own mother over months, watching her suffer, accelerating when she attempted to protect herself legally. Judge Morrison paused. You showed no remorse, no recognition of the magnitude of your actions. This court sees no mitigating factors. 18 years in state prison. Eligible for parole after 15 years. Contingent on demonstrated rehabilitation. Isolde stood motionless as the sentence landed. 18 years. She'd be 47 when eligible for release. Middle-aged, unemployable, stripped of everything. Vaughn received 12 years, accounting for his testimony, still enough to destroy his life completely. They were led away. I watched them disappear through the door, felt nothing but hollow satisfaction that justice had been served. Margot squeezed my hand. It's over. Yes, I thought I'd feel relief. Instead, I just feel empty. That's normal. You can't grieve for someone who's still alive but dead to you. We left the courthouse, emerged into Seattle's August sunshine. Tess waited on the steps, having taken the afternoon off from her new caregiving position. She'd found employment immediately after the trial, referrals from families who'd heard about her integrity. Mrs. Quinlan, she embraced Margot carefully. Justice has been done because of you. If you hadn't documented everything, if you hadn't been brave enough to call Thaddeus, I'd be dead. But you are not dead. You are alive. That is what matters. Leopold Ashford called that evening, as I sat in Margot's Queen Anne mansion, drinking tea in the kitchen where this had all begun. Thaddeus, the foundation documents are complete. Margot's assets are structured exactly as she wanted. Walk me through it. Primary trust beneficiary is you, with conditions requiring you to use funds for charitable purposes. Secondary beneficiaries are 5 organizations: Pacific Northwest Ballet, Seattle Opera, Planned Parenthood, ACLU, and the Immigrant Justice Foundation. If you predecease your mother, assets distribute to those charities immediately. ACLU gets nothing, not a penny. The disinheritance language is explicit and legally bulletproof. Even if she appeals from prison, which she can't afford to do, she'd lose. Good. Thaddeus, you should know, your mother asked me to draft one additional document, a scholarship fund in Celestine Okafor's name, $500,000 endowment to fund nursing scholarships for immigrant healthcare workers. I set down my tea, throat tight. She didn't tell me. She wanted it to be a surprise. The fund launches next year. First recipient will be announced on the anniversary of when Tess called you from the parking garage. After we hung up, I sat in the kitchen silence, processing everything that had collapsed and everything that had been built from ruins. I sewed, in prison, Vaughn in prison, justice served, Margot alive, healthy, recovering strength daily, Tess honored and protected. A scholarship fund ensuring other caregivers would be supported for doing the right thing. I'd lost a daughter, but kept a mother. The transaction was brutal, but necessary. My phone buzzed. Text from Reyes. FYI, your car tampering. Vaughn broke on that too. Said Isolde planned it. You were supposed to die in an accident 6 months after your mother. Clean inheritance, no suspicion. Thought you'd want to know. I stared at that message for a long time. My daughter had planned to murder both of us. Mother first, father second. Complete annihilation for $4.8 million. The coldness in my chest had become permanent, not anger anymore. Just recognition of what she'd been, what I'd failed to see. What would have happened if Tess hadn't been brave enough to document the truth. Margot appeared in the doorway, leaning on her cane. Thaddeus, you look troubled, Vaughn confessed. They planned to kill me too, after you were gone. She crossed the kitchen, sat beside me, took my hand, but we're both alive. We won. That's what matters. I keep thinking about when she was 8. Remember when she wanted to be a doctor? Said she wanted to help people. That child died long ago. Maybe she was never real. Maybe we just saw what we wanted to see. Maybe we sat in comfortable silence, 2 survivors of attempted murder, holding on to each other while Seattle's evening settled around us. What happens now? Margot asked. Now you live. Teach your voice, students. Attend the opera. Enjoy the house you've kept. And every time you do something you love, you'll know you survived someone who tried to take it all away. And you, I go back to teaching. Tell 18-year-olds about European history. Come visit you every Sunday. Maybe write a book about treaties and aftermath. Sounds peaceful. It will be. Through the window, Puget Sound stretched into darkness. Ferries crossing with lights reflecting on black water. The city continued its rhythms, indifferent to family implosions and legal victory. But we'd survived, protected what mattered, built something permanent from attempted destruction. That was enough. Margot squeezed my hand. Thank you for believing Tess, for fighting, for not letting her win. She was never going to win, not against someone who documented everything. Not everyone would have moved that quickly. I had good motivation. I looked at her directly. You're my mother. No one gets to hurt you, not even my daughter. Not your daughter anymore. No, not anymore. We sat together, as night deepened, 2 people who'd faced betrayal from within family and emerged with certainty. Blood meant nothing compared to integrity. Family titles meant nothing compared to trustworthiness, and justice, however late, however painful, was always worth fighting for. Outside, Seattle glowed with artificial light, beautiful and indifferent. Inside, we'd built new boundaries, new definitions, new understanding of what mattered. 18 years from now, Isolde might be released, might try to contact us, might apologize or justify or manipulate. It wouldn't matter. The door had closed permanently the moment she'd substituted those pills. Some betrayals can't be forgiven. Some people can't be redeemed. Some consequences are exactly as permanent as they should be. I'd made peace with that. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Click the box on the left to hear the next story. Thank you for watching.